young man, certainly had a name that was generally attached to a male, and had an EDU email address, so I'm just kind of guessing that it might be youngish, younger than myself. He asked about what's the difference between Nichiren Shu and Soka Gakkai, and so I wrote to him and explained to him my policy of really not answering questions other than technical stuff like look on the calendar for the next service. Yes, we'll have service there, or no, we're not doing it. So just really simple responses. And at my discretion, I can of course write longer letters, as John may know. I can write real long letters. But generally speaking, my preference is to keep it short on email. It's not my preferred means of communication. I think that really email is ideal for communicating facts and just some basic information, but as far as doctrinal explanations, it's not well suited. Frequently, it's important to me when I give an explanation for something that I know how the person is responding, that I know what the person is really interested in specifically. There's always a question underneath the question, and exploring that, finding out what's really there, what's the itch that needs to be scratched. And so anyway, I explained to him that I had a couple of means of a couple of ways that I do that. I welcome the person to attend the activity, to attend the service, and participate in the question and answer afterwards. And this is in keeping with my attempt to having people be not just consumers of media, but to actually produce some content. And so when a person asks a question at a service or after a service, they are producing content, much as they would here, they would interact if it was just here in the Hongo. People would ask questions and engage in discussion. And so that's the way I'm approaching the internet, as well as you all know, particularly John, who's done a couple of retreats with me now. For me, it's about making everybody producers of content, not just consumers. So anyway, so I told them that they're welcome to participate and ask your question after the service. I did not hear from him. I haven't heard from him. However, since I've gotten 2 questions regarding this, maybe there's something in the water or the universe currently that is turning this up. And there's certainly a lot of places to go online to find an answer to that question. Reverend Cherubini's response is easily available, and I won't repeat that. I won't repeat what he's written. So I'm often, I don't know what someone already knows. So it's kind of when I'm responding without the person's communication, then I'm sort of shooting in the dark, and I don't know whether to hit the target or not. But regarding and I'm going to record this in case I want to use it. I told him that either that, or else if I felt if it was really, really important, then I might write something for the blog, or I might incorporate it into a Dharma talk. And so today is kind of an unofficial, you might say unofficial Dharma talk. And recording it via 2 methods. Once hopefully you'll get the video with it. If I don't get the video, then I have the sound back up. And I'm just guessing that John is probably recording it as well, as is his practice. So anyway, recently contacted a couple of times by different individuals regarding the question of what's the difference between Nichiren Shu and the Soka Gakkai. And there are many differences. I'm just going to cover a couple of them that are important to me and that I try to emphasize. First and foremost, we believe that Nichiren was a spokesperson for Tokyo's Bodhisattva. Bodhisattva superior practices. The Bodhisattva that the Buddha transferred his teachings to in the latter ages of degeneration of the Lotus Sutra. He wasn't that person, but he certainly did everything that that person would have done if that person were here. So he's the spokesperson, or the representative, you could say, of that Bodhisattva, or the voter of that Bodhisattva. Bodhisattva superior practices Jodo. He wasn't the Buddha. He's not going to be a Buddha. Never was. He never claimed he was. To put him in the capacity of being superior to Shakyamuni Buddha makes him a Buddha, but a Buddha more important than Shakyamuni Buddha. And that's just simply, there's no doctrinal basis to support that belief. One is, it is possible to sort of convolute one of Nichiren's writings, the Kaimosho, to sort of twist it around to make it seem that way, but it's not there. That's merely conjuring up something, a rabbit out of a hat. So Nichiren is not a Buddha. He's not the next Buddha. The next Buddha clearly is stated in chapter 1 of the Lotus Sutra, Maitreya. And he's going to be, some 100 million years from now. And he will teach for roughly about 3 days, depending on which sutra you're looking at. He will teach for about three days, and billions of people will attain enlightenment from his teaching that must be heard. And I'm thinking, it's not impossible for that to happen, especially considering the technology that we have today. It is possible to reach that many people in 3 days. So, who knows? At any rate, so there's nothing anywhere in the sutra that says that Bodhisattva Jogyo will become a Buddha. There's nothing anywhere that says that anybody else other than Maitreya will be a Buddha on this planet. So, Nichiren was not. Nichiren does not supersede the Buddha. That would be like, well, it is like what the Soka Gakkai does by holding up Nichiren's writings to be superior or more important to study than the Lotus Sutra. It's taking a secondary source and using that as your primary evidence or your primary source. It's shifting things around. It's just not done. It's not done in the academic world. It's not done by scholars. It's not done by historians. It's not done by anybody other than people who wish to convolute things or promulgate a false message. The Lotus Sutra remains and is the superior document. It is the original text from which we study. Here in this temple, for our liturgy, our daily practice, I have changed some words to be more culturally appropriate, perhaps, or for us to be gender neutral. That's not doctrine, that's just our practice. That's how we manifest. So we manifest the Lotus Sutra in a certain way. And it's my belief and my hope that we should manifest the Lotus Sutra in this particular example in a gender neutral way, that we respect everybody of any gender. We respect them as unique and important human beings. And so that's our liturgy, different from our doctrine. The doctrine remains the same from the Lotus Sutra. Currently, this Nichiren Shu uses the Senju Murano translations. You can use any translation you want. I even have no objection to someone using the Watson translation, which was funded or supported by the Soka Gakkai. So, every denomination, or most of the big denominations, have funded a translation of the Lotus Sutra. They're all good. We need them all. We believe that, or I believe, and I support the practice, and many other priests do, that really you're better off consulting several translations just to kind of get a feel for what's going on. Each translator has their preference, their own personality, and that does appear. I do encourage people to read the translator's notes, the preface, the translation that you're using. So the Lotus Sutra remains the superior document. As far as Nichiren's writings go, Nichiren Shu emphasizes these 5 major writings. And that's the ones that here at the temple, when I teach from Nichiren's writings, those are the ones that I teach from. You're certainly welcome to quote any other. Nichiren Shu has established, along with other Nichiren scholars, who are maybe not even Nichiren practitioners, because we do not know what Jackie Stone is currently practicing. She's kept that private, as I believe that she should, and I think that's good. So we don't know which denomination she is practicing now, or if she's even considers herself practicing. But she is a well-respected Nichiren scholar, and who began with the Soka Gakkai and later changed. But, so, I forgot where I was going with that. It's 11 hours. I forgot where I was going with that. So anyway, so we have developed a classification system of the authentic, the ones that we know, either we have the original, or the original has been seen in modern time, or else we have a certified genuine copy of the original, first generation copy of the original. Then that is, we take that and group that into a category, some people call it A, of the original documents. And then we have later copies that we know were authentic, that we have very good certainty that they are indeed true copies of what the original document was. We've not seen the original, we've not, it's not available, however, we trust these sources. So various of Nichiren's disciples would fall in that category. And primarily that category, I think, is mostly populated by copies that lay people made. And then we have another category of dubious. We don't know with any certainty. There's some question about whether they are genuine documents written by Nichiren himself. In some cases, there's some inconsistency in doctrine, and so we have a pretty good grounds for reasonable suspicion as to whether they are genuine. And then we have others that are just bogus. They're not really Nichiren's writings. They're okay, like Wanatani Buddha, one of the most popular among the Soka Gakkai, and many Nichiren Shu practitioners. Very, very profound right letter, not written by Nichiren. In all likelihood, while we can't be absolutely certain, there's just nothing there. There's been no evidence of it from Nichiren's hand. There's no historical record of him ever writing it. So it more than likely, and language and writing style, all that kind of stuff, scholars look at that, and it's more than likely a later contribution by a well-intended, perhaps, priest. It's a great document. It's encouraging, but Nichiren didn't write it. It's okay to believe it, it's okay to like it, but Nichiren didn't write it. And so we really try to avoid saying that he wrote things that he did not write. So we really try to engage in scholarly practices, in scholarly research, and respect scholars. Of course, they're not gods. They make mistakes too, and things change over time, but it is something that we try to do. When I lived in Japan, there's the institute that actually puts out all the Soka publications, Nichiren's writings, and various other documents. That research institute was right next door to the temple I stayed at, and we would go over there every couple of weeks to do prayers over there, pray for their effort, and do blessings over there. So that's an institute talking in Japan. So scholarship. Scholarship is important. Lotus Sutra, the primary document. We followed scholastic practices of the primary source being more important than the secondary source. Nichiren's writings are merely a commentary on the Lotus Sutra. Even Nichiren himself says that one should never rely on the commentary over the original document. So Nichiren himself practiced this is a very good historical practice of scholarship of the primary source, primary text is what we rely on. Commentaries are just ways to explore it, and certainly up for dispute or discussion. So Nichiren was a contributor to the discussion of the Lotus Sutra. And in Nichiren's time, that discussion was lively and vigorous. And we can read about that in Nichiren's writings. We can read about that. And it's a good practice to find out what Nichiren says about himself. He never claimed that he was a Buddha. He really claimed that he was a representative of Bodhisattva Jogyo, Bodhisattva superior practices. So that, although we do not believe that anybody living or dead since Nichiren supersedes Nichiren himself. So we don't have a leader of a lay organization who is being put ahead or has put himself ahead of Nichiren's writings. And that person's writings do not supersede Nichiren's, do not replace the Lotus Sutra. So if you're reading my books, please do not think that any of it is intended to replace the Lotus Sutra. Hopefully everybody gets that message. But we do not believe that anybody since Nichiren or maybe ever will appear to replace the Lotus Sutra until Maitreya gets here. When Maitreya finally gets here, and we'll all know, when Maitreya gets here, then that will replace the Lotus Sutra that we currently practice. Until then, the Buddha did not mention any other teaching. So the Lotus Sutra, back up here, so the Lotus Sutra can appear in many different ways. On this planet, as it is now, in our history, the 28-volume Lotus Sutra that we use, that's been translated into English and lots of other languages, that is the Lotus Sutra for our time. And it is the Lotus Sutra until Maitreya gets here. Now, we don't know what Maitreya's Lotus Sutra will look like. To give you an example, is Bodhisattva never despised from the Lotus Sutra. It's a person that's being retold, it's a story being retold about this person in a different age, a different part of the universe, whatever. Whose Lotus Sutra was like 26 characters long. Now ours is 28 chapters, roughly around 300 or 400 pages in English. His was 26 characters. We have other information that the Buddha shares with us of other Lotus Sutras that were thousands of volumes long. So the essential heart of the Lotus Sutra, the essential teaching of the Lotus Sutra remains the same. How it appears and how it's represented, that changes, but it's still the same Lotus Sutra. So Maitreya will come and he will teach his own Lotus Sutra. Well, it'll be the same fundamental truth that's contained in Lotus Sutra, but it'll look different. As we all can imagine, technology has made things look a lot different just in my lifetime from, 30 or 40 years ago. Who knows what changes will take place in the future. So that's important. No living person to replace the Buddha, no living person or since the Buddha, no person since the Buddha and no living person will replace the Buddha. That includes Nichiren, doesn't replace the Buddha. He's not the true Buddha, no such thing. There's just not any reference to that. There's no place to conjure that up from within the sutras themselves. So, whether one creates these myths, so anybody's certainly capable of creating myths, and if people wish to believe in it, well, that's their choice. But they are myths, and we need to be aware of that. And the only way that we will be aware that they are myths is if we engage in our own study. So Nichiren Shu encourages, I know I encourage, the study by oneself of the Lotus Sutra. And my practice is approaching the Lotus Sutra from many different ways, from many different ways of study, many different ways of manifestation. But you will not know, you may think, but you will not know you're enlightened or about your enlightenment unless you study about enlightenment. You know, when I teach the 10 worlds, I teach it as not a theoretical document, but as a roadmap. You know, if you're suffering now and you want to not suffer anymore, then study what some of the other conditions of life are so that you'll know how to get there. You'll know what it looks like. You'll know the things that are manifest when one is in that condition of life. Learn about it, study about it, and then do it. It's not easy, but it can be done. And we get that from study. Study is so important, as well as practice. And practice on oneself, by oneself. We don't have a big organization. It's not our practice even to call people up and bug them about their practice. Certainly try and stay in contact with people. And here at this temple, I perhaps do a poor job of that. But I do think about you all, even the ones who are not here. I am challenged with reaching out and just saying hi to people. So I apologize for that, but it is our practice that this is a self-motivated, self-directed practice. You know, or hopefully you will discover what you need in your life right now for the future. That's why today I offer the prayer that we have the wisdom to proceed the best possible route forward, the best way to solve our problems. I can't tell you what to do specifically. In fact, I shouldn't tell you at all. You might come to me for some encouragement or some guidance about your practice. You can share with me, any of you can share with me what's going on in your life. Many of you have. I can't solve the problem for you. I can listen. I can be a witness to accomplishments that you've achieved. And gosh, in the almost 10 years that this temple has been here, I've seen a lot of people accomplish a lot of things. They did it themselves. This is your practice. This is practice for yourself. So you have to be motivated about it. You get back what you put in. Quite simply. You don't get anything back from me. You get it from yourself. It's all there within you. And chanting and practicing the Lotus Sutra enables us to clarify things within ourselves, to tap into our innate wisdom, to listen to the universal wisdom, if you will, the spirit energy, however you wish to define it. So those are the important things that I think one can hold up to compare. I hope I didn't disparage anybody, but I do hope that I made it clear that there's some practices that we do not support, and that many scholars and others in the community, whether they're in Nichiren Shu or at a university or even at a Bible college, some have certain standards, and some denominations do not meet up to those standards of where they get their information from and how they teach it. So that pretty much concludes that. I'll leave it on for any questions.